Okay, you guys, walk with me. Okay, so here you guys, I'm back. This is LH, bringing you what is 100% authentic, can never be compromised or manufactured. So yeah, I'm wearing this because I'm out in public, you guys. I don't want to catch nothing. Whether you believe in the conspiracy or not, you don't want to take any risks here. But anyways, it's been a while. I've been trying to get this particular video out for 2 weeks. I think somehow the powers that be knew that I was trying to get this word out, the negative powers that be, and for some reason it didn't until now. So I was able to actually get my device working after 2 weeks of stalling, and here we are. So this message was basically was going back since, I want to say July 4th is when I initially recorded this video that you're seeing today. Well, no, that you don't see, but this message that you're seeing today. And it basically goes on the same line concept, but I was basically talking about how there's this concept called post-traumatic slave syndrome, as coined by Joy DeGruy, okay? And I had the pleasure of meeting Joy DeGruy back in 2012, 2013. It was around that time when I was doing my undergrad at Las Madonnas College. And she came to my college and she had her book talking about post-traumatic slave syndrome. And that book basically entails, like, you could find her, there's numerous talks that she gives on YouTube at different colleges, different summits, different conferences. But basically what post-traumatic slave syndrome is, let me take this off for a minute. It's basically, everything is DNA. Everything goes back to, our imprints of our forefathers, how our forefathers and foremothers felt, the trauma that they went through. Just like when you, even when you talk about like how, like a parent could pass down some type of feeling, thought process, or a fear onto their offspring. And that offspring would think, how is it that I'm able to feel or fear a certain thing, and I have no idea, like I have no memory of fearing this particular thing or being traumatized by this particular thing, or why I feel this emotion, and I don't understand why I would feel this emotion because I never went through this emotion. It goes back to post-traumatic slave syndrome. So what post-traumatic slave syndrome is, if your forefathers were enslaved as African Americans, your forefathers were enslaved back in the pre-colonial or colonial times, 400 years ago. And they went through the traumas, the pain, the buck breaking, the beatings, rape. They went through all traumatic experiences living under colonial slave times, okay? And you somehow, with this country's history and what we're presently going through now, with the injustices of black and brown bodies, black people being killed by police officers, which are just another word for slave patrols in modern context. Some don't reenact and go into that type of position, but some of them do. But that's why there's this constant fear of black people being afraid of police. So what post-traumatic slave syndrome entails is that you have an innate feeling going back since those times, because your ancestors went through those times. It's no different from when, when we see today, you notice how you see black mothers talk about their kids with one another, and they talk about, like, oh, my kid does this and does that, and the one mother compliment, and this was brought up by Joy DeGruy. This is a perfect example. She'll say, well, a mother will compliment the other mother's child, but then the mother of that child will be like, will downplay that child's abilities, gifts, or ablecy of his accomplishments or her accomplishments. That is in the same sense, in the same breath, back in those times during the early 1800s during slavery, when mothers would have their children would be working in the fields along with them, and they, you know, the children would be, some of them would be doing a really great job in the fields or whatever, and the slave master, enslaver, would notice that, and that child, noticing that child being a great quote-unquote worker, he would sell that child, or have that child, you know, be in the guise of that child could deliver a heap of maybe 500 bales of cotton or something like that. And it would be expected for that child to keep up with that number of work and that type of capacity. And so that mother, fearing that, would know that either her son's going to be beaten if he doesn't deliver that same amount, or he would be sold. So what do we see today? We see mothers downplaying, because that's exactly what the mothers had to do back in the day to save their children from being slave, because sold or being beaten, because they were expected to deliver that same amount, because they noticed that that's how their work conditions, and they were expected to deliver that amount. Basically, you provide the skills, the talent, you're expected to deliver that again, or else, you know, you'll be beaten if you don't meet it, or if you're a great worker, I can sell you for profit. That's exactly the type of fear that our ancestors had to go through. And so that's basically to go along of what post-traumatic slave syndrome. Another thing post-traumatic slave syndrome is, and I've recently felt this, it's the treatment from other black people. That's why there's so much transgressions and negativity towards other black people, just simply for existing. You know, you have black people colorism. There was a video that I saw about a light-skinned woman, sister, talking about how there was a transgression against her just for being light-skinned. And I've seen it. It's true. It's been enacted against me. I've been enacted not only by my other people outside of my community, but people in my community, because of how I either look or how I talk. You know, it's the same, using the same master's tools to oppress each other. And that's the same lines of post-traumatic slave syndrome that I've noticed. And it really, you know, you guys should research this. It's very telling. It goes to show you how we pass these things down from generation to generation. And I've wanted to talk about this, you know, now I'm able to get the word out. But, you know, we're going to get this word out. But it's very telling. You know, some of us have the workings of a mentality of a house Negro, and we see how that's played out in our day-to-day lives. The field Negro is played out in the day-to-day lives. Some of us over-sexualize ourselves. We overhype ourselves to think that we're supposed to be these brute thugs when we're been conditioned to do that. You know, you hear the music, but that don't mean you're a thug. But I'm just saying, some of us have bought into the expectation of how we are supposed to be. And some of this stuff, while we can't control the trauma that our forefathers went through, some of the things we can control, we can control the treatment. I don't care how bad it is. There's no reason why we should be treating each other with so much vitriol, disgust, because we are all we got when you think about it. So I'm gonna entail some more as time goes by, but I wanted to get this message out. It's post-traumatic slave syndrome, and I'm gonna also post some things more about what I learned from Joy DeGruy. But I thought I'd leave you guys with that. I hope you guys are doing well, you guys. Stay true to thyself. And yeah, you guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. Be safe out here and stay vigilant. All right. Peace and love. Bye.